Hello and welcome to the Healing Element Podcast. I am your host, Kai Marie, and I'm so excited for our conversation that we're going to have tonight. The title of tonight's episode is Step into Your Authentic Power. I have a very special guest with me tonight, Carole. I'm so looking forward to our conversation. I'm sure that everyone is truly going to enjoy it and get a lot of good information from it. Really quick, if this is your first time joining the podcast, you can join us every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a new episode. So please be sure to like and subscribe if the information that you hear today resonates with you, which I'm sure that it will. So with that being said, stepping into your authentic power, what does that mean? Well, if you feel that you are kind of suffering, or if you have these self-limiting beliefs and it's preventing you from living the life that you desire and that you deserve, today, we're going to be talking about how you can find out how changing your mindset can help you show up as your authentic self in every area of your life. So that being said, I would like to welcome Carole to the podcast. Welcome, Carole.
Hi, Kai. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. So I do want you to share with the Healing Element fam about your journey, about the work that you do. So I know that you are a yoga teacher. You're also a lifestyle coach. And that you actually started doing yoga retreats in 2017, and then that kind of evolved into coaching. So can you share with us a little bit about your yoga journey and then transitioning into life coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually found yoga after finding Buddhism, and I'll back up even more. So I went to a private Catholic high school, and luckily my junior year, we were able to take Asian philosophy, and I learned a lot about Buddhism and essentially learned about this whole other world that I had no idea about. And really the concept of it was mindfulness and the idea of being present and slowing down, which was such a foreign concept to me, being an athlete. And I went to school like an hour away, just a lot of chaos in my life. And I had no idea how to slow down and be present and enjoy what was happening. So learning about that was life-changing for me. And I actually went to India and studied Buddhism. I went to Cambodia and studied Buddhism as well. And a little bit before that, even I started becoming interested in yoga. And I've always just loved physical movement. So learning that I could have physical movement and also be mindful and learn how to be present was absolutely incredible for me. So that's how I became interested in yoga, really. And I went to Nepal to do my teacher training. I also really love the philosophy of yoga. And for me, it wasn't even about the physical postures. It wasn't about learning how to do a handstand or any of these crazy postures, which, there's a lot of amazing things on that journey. But it was really some of the deeper inner work and learning about myself and even learning how to overcome obstacles on our mat, essentially. So I just really wanted to learn about the culture of the practice. I wanted to learn about the philosophy. So I went to Nepal and studied Hatha and Ashtanga. So just very traditional practices, no music, no hot yoga, just very different than Western yoga, which was, so it was amazing to learn the roots. And, that was really the beginning of my journey. And so, yeah, went through that. And then, one of the reasons I started teaching literally right after in 2014, I taught for about 3 years. And, I had a goal to always do yoga retreats. And I really love traveling. I love culture. I love experiencing life. And that was something I really wanted to bring to other people and to see how, it's we were just talking about this before, like experiencing life and how important it is. It's great to learn about these things, but to really experience them. So,
Right.
and it's like this immersive practice that I could create. And also community was a huge thing of like bringing people together. And even after my first yoga retreat in 2017, most of the people are from where I teach at Melting Point. And then we came back to the studio and I would see people practicing next to each other and talking after class and really making new friendships that, I mean, to this day, I still see a lot of them that are friends and return on my retreat. So the community of it and like coming together and healing and just, just the energy of it was also really, really powerful for me. So to be able to share, a lot of these things that really just transformed and uplifted my life, to be able to give that to other people. And yeah, just to be in like beautiful, out in nature and hiking. And it's also a space that I could just dive deeper into yoga than just the physicality of it, where we could do more meditation and pranayama, and just diving into some of that. And then fast forward, 2020 happened, the pandemic happened, and it was a little bit harder to do retreats, as I'm sure all of you can imagine. So I got very creative with that and doing day retreats of very small, intimate groups that were, outside and distance and everything. But all of that really helped me move into coaching. And the reason is of just beginning like tapping into this virtual world, which at the time was really all we had or all we could access. And the other thing I loved about it was I could really blend yoga with coaching. So, you have an hour class that you come to, and there's so much more I want to share, so many other things I want to tap on. So being able to create this coaching program where I could like draw in so many more of these practices. And, I really became a yoga teacher to help people live like a more fulfilling life, to help them get to know themselves, to get to know like how they desire to show up, to overcome obstacles, limiting beliefs, all of these things. And it's amazing to do it on the yoga mat, but to take it out in life, like that's the whole practice. It's how can we take everything we did on that mat and apply it to life, especially to 2020 or just, any of that type of chaos and things, to have those tools. And so, yeah, so just being able to blend that into this coaching program was really, really incredible for me. And then I ended up focusing more on women's empowerment within that too. I still do a lot of work with men, but creating more women's empowerment evenings where it's just a different energy and just pulling in a different type of healing, a different type of nourishment and support, tapping into more of that like divine feminine energy of like being and integrating. And yeah, again, just like a different energy. So that's something I really focus on, and something I felt I could obviously connect to deeply as a woman, and just like wanting to be able to support myself, wanting to be able to like hold myself and like do basically like create the life I wanted to live, even though people told me like that it wouldn't work or I wouldn't be successful or this, and that. So it was really taking a lot of these experiences and then turning it into a program of like, this is what I've done, and now I can, help you to do the same thing. And I think it's like showing that I've done this and you can do this, right? And so it's finding some of that within. And I could go on and on, but stop right there for now.
No, I think that's great, because a couple of things that you had mentioned. One is just kind of, I'm always interested in people's journey to yoga, because some people enter it because it's like, I need to work out. And they do it for that, but then they end up getting so much more out of it. It's like, wow, I'm now finding a whole new type of internal peace that I never even thought. I was just trying to kind of tone or just do something that's active. And then some people, it's like, listen, I just need to relax and that's all I'm here for. But then they end up seeing that their body is getting stronger. So I'm always curious as to how people have like found their way into yoga. But I will say, I actually met you at the yoga studio. And so it's funny, because what you said that you have done with your coaching package is that you had this experience and you've worked through different, situations in your life. And now it's like, listen, I was able to accomplish this. And now I want to help women do this in their own lives. When we would go to your yoga class, and we loved your yoga class, by the way, because it was challenging. The core work was serious. If anybody's listening, if you're in Charlotte, Carole will give you some real core work. I'm being serious with you. But it challenged you. It was challenging, but it felt so rewarding afterwards. And so and it was, we would do the movements, and then we would see you like, teaching, and then plop down like, yeah, now put your legs up here. I'm like, how is she? What? And I'm like, I've been laying down this whole time, and I'm having trouble lifting. I'm having trouble getting to boat pose. But it was inspiring, and just like what you've done with your coaching, that now your life and what you've been able to accomplish, now using that to inspire others. So I just want to say that I saw how that happened in the studio with yoga. So I know that the coaching package that you're providing are awesome.
Thank
Truly.
you so much. And that's where actually my core class was actually a big inspiration for doing a lot of this coaching, because one of my intentions with the core class was, the first part, it's like finding our inner strength. And as we find that inner strength, like it's really that. So when we find our inner strength, it's like tapping into this like limitless being within, which is actually tied at your core. So when we find that, it kind of shows us that we can actually overcome anything. And we literally tap into like this limitlessness, which then brings the physical strength. And it's like the same thing where it's like, okay, if I can do freaking boat pose at the end of class when I'm so tired, like what can I also do out in my daily life? Like what can I do in my career? What can I do in all these other aspects? And that's where I think yoga is really, really powerful to have that physical practice, because it shows you really what you are capable of. And I actually have a whole module in my program that is based off of, it's called Your Core Limitless Being. It is entirely based off that class and like my whole intention behind that class. So I actually love too that we met through that, because a lot of my work is tied to, because like the core is also where it's like representative of our true self. And I know we're going to get into that, but it's so funny. Like I love that you brought that up, and I love that that's where we met, and how all of this just like ties together is so beautiful.
You're so right. It happens. You have that strong core, and that's like your guide, inner guide. And I know we're going to get into that, but that's so cool that is kind of like at the center of your coaching. It's so awesome, because it does, like, you do feel stronger when you have a stronger core. And so I definitely felt the benefits from going to your class. So I'm like, I'm already excited to have you on, but it's even like double because of just being able to attend your classes. So now we're going to get into a little bit more of your coaching. And so for those that are listening, if you want to learn more about how do I step in my authentic power, what does that even mean? Am I there now? Then you're going to definitely want to stay tuned for this episode, because Carole is actually going to be providing some steps as to what you can begin to do. And basically it's a call to action on what you can begin to do in your life while you're listening to us, and of course, after the episode is over. So as you said, Carole, you're working with women, just helping to empower them. So what are some common reasons that your clients typically reach out to you?
Yeah. So there's a few. One of the big ones actually is routine and just finding like daily rituals. So I have done a lot of work with Ayurveda, studying Ayurveda, where I did my 300-hour teacher training was in Kerala, India, which is actually not the foundation. What do you call it? Like the mother of where Ayurveda was. So anyway, so a lot of my whole morning and evening routine is based off Ayurveda. So I actually share a lot of that with women. That is the first 2 modules in my program, but a lot of women just come to me that have absolutely no routine, or they wake up and they're on their phone first thing, or they don't give themselves time to do anything really, or it's like waking up and rushing out the door. And I can speak to that so well, because I used to be that person where I would literally wake up, I'm not even kidding, like half an hour before I had to teach, like before I physically had to teach. I would wake up, chug a cup of coffee, and then I lived like 5 minutes from the studio, run down there, but I would be exhausted. My digestion was awful. I felt like I had a brick in my stomach all the time. I don't even know how I taught back then, to be honest, but like I had absolutely no routine. And when we don't have routine, we really do feel like disempowered. We don't feel supported or nourished. So taking that time to have routine. And I've seen a lot of women even implement things that take 30 seconds in the morning that have completely changed their lives. And I'll give you a quick example. Like we do this thing called tongue scraping, and it actually gets the toxins out of your body. It like pulls them up. So, overnight the toxins start to come up. So we scrape them off the tongue rather than drinking coffee and putting them right down in the body. So one client who started doing this every morning just felt like a huge transformation already, because it was even just like 30 seconds dedicated to her and releasing some of the toxins. And there's a lot of other benefits to it. But sometimes it's just like that the mentality of like, wow, I am so important. Like my life is important that I can dedicate this time to myself in the morning. So routine is like a huge thing. And I also really find that to be foundational, because I just think it's important to have an evening routine and a morning routine so we can feel supported and just we can accomplish our day and all the crazy things we have to do. So I do find routine to be one of the biggest things. And I think that's a great way to like just step into our power. And then another thing too, a lot of women that want job changes. So they're just not happy with their current job, whether it's a 9-to-5 job, whether, what else? Some of it even, I guess like the 9-to-5, and I shouldn't say, not just, I guess that's mainly what, I focus on more of yoga and health. So a lot of people that come to me for that, or they're just feeling very overwhelmed in their job and maybe want, even something else to kind of go along with that in a sense. So and a lot of the things I work on too, it's like how to find more of our purpose and just learning about like what is our true calling, learning about some of the things we just like love in life and seeing if that is what our career path is. And our purpose isn't just career. It's like an element of our purpose. Purpose is more of like how we show up every single day and like filtering our decisions and choices through that purpose. But that's a big part. And then I would say the last one too is women who just kind of feel like they've lost themselves in a sense where it's like, I don't really know who I am anymore. I don't know what I love. I don't know what I enjoy. So some of these practices too are moving back into like self-worth and self-love, self-acceptance. The big like core of like stepping into our power, like how to hold yourself is so important. And some of these things, like even learning the psychology of how you stand and how you hold yourself is just another way to tap into like your confidence and courage, which is like this natural state. And when we start to come home to our natural state, we start to learn more about who we are. And we're like, ooh, this feels good. I can make this my truth. So yeah, I would say the biggest things are routine, job change, career, or just finding more fulfillment within even what they're doing, or just straight up, I'm not quite sure who I am right now. I'm not, I want to get to know that person a little bit more.
Yeah, you know what? When you said routine, it's so funny because probably about an hour or so before we went live, my husband and we were doing. Oh, and didn't say you're recently married. Yay! Congratulations! I love the pictures, and make sure you go to Carole's Instagram. It's all in the description box to check out the beautiful pictures from her wedding. So I'm so happy for you and the hubby. Congratulations for that.
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you.
Of course. But before we went live, we did a quick yin yoga practice. And afterwards, we were just kind of talking about the importance of like practicing yoga in the morning, like first thing in the morning. And I was like, there's something about it, like, yes, the movement, but also just having some time for yourself. Like you said, before picking up the phone to check the email, before doing something for somebody else. Because let's be honest, once we get up, our day is usually planned to doing something for somebody else.
Yes.
So it's so nice to have like that sacred time in the morning that you're just focused on setting yourself up for the day. Yes. So I love what you said about setting up routine, because then I can see how that can translate into if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're trying to figure out your purpose. I can see how that morning start is so crucial to kind of working out those other areas in your life.
It really is. Like, I almost think about it of like, how can I be in an empowered state to almost take on anything that happens today? If I get an email that upsets me, how can I be in a place where I'm okay to take that on? Or, it's like anything. And of course, I'm not this little yogic saint by any means. I have Anyways, just want to put that out there. But it's like, how can we be more in an empowered state and like knowing that we took care of ourselves before moving into, like you said, because it's like we just get into this constant like go, go, go. And it's almost like you don't stop. And if you don't schedule time for yourself to stop, you won't stop. And we've even talked about this, like being entrepreneurs, you could literally work 24/7.
You could.
Literally, like there is absolutely no stopping point, but you have to give yourself that rest and that stop. And the last thing on routine, I'll say too, it's like, Ayurveda really focuses on evening routine too, which is we always talk about the morning, but when we say it's like the evening can steal your morning away if you don't have that evening routine as well. And like if you're staying up till midnight, how are you going to wake up at 5 a.m. to do yoga? You don't have to do that, but just saying, or if we're eating really late and then we can't digest our food properly, we don't sleep properly. I'm also big on like reading before bed, no screen time, candles, like creating like also the sacred space before bed. And not every single night. Like I also, time where maybe my husband and I will stay up late and watch a movie one night, but it's not every single night. And it's almost like I get to enjoy that more when I stay up late and watch a movie because I'm not doing it every night, right? It's like moderation. If you eat chocolate all day long, every day, there's no joy in it anymore. If you eat it once in a while, there's no joy in it. So I consider all of that in moderation. But yeah, routine is really, it's absolutely 100% changed my life once I learned how to have routine and schedule time for myself. Meditation, breath work, all of it. Everyone talks about meditation, and it's like you don't understand the power of it until you really, do it.
So true. So true. And so that's what I love about your coaching package. It's about the experience. And we were talking about that earlier too, before we went live, is that this is about having that experience, which we're going to like kind of dive into actually right now. And I think this is a perfect segue in talking about routine when you're waking up in the morning, before you go to bed. All of that are some action steps that those that are watching us right now, you can begin to take. You can kind of jot down right now, how do you want to begin to start your morning? How do you want to end your day? Those are things that you can start to implement.
Yeah. And I do actually have on my Instagram, I have two little I forget what you call them, like the graphics on Instagram. I have one for eight steps to empowered mornings, 8 steps to empowered evenings. So if people go on Instagram, you'll see that a little bit down too, but just to give like ideas for people as well. So.
Perfect. And so you can find Carole's Instagram right in the description box. So that way you can just click on it and you can go right to her page. So that way you can get those tips. So now we're going to kind of jump into a little bit deeper into how you can begin to show up as your authentic self. What does that mean? And like we have in the title, you're the one you've been waiting for, because everything that you need is already within you. It's just time to, it's just how do you bring that out? And that's something that Carole can help you with as a yoga and lifestyle coach. So with that being said, Carole, can you kind of lead us through some steps/action items that our listeners can begin to do today?
Yeah. So the first thing with authenticity and even life in general, I think, and this is like what I really focus on, is knowing what that means for us. And it's knowing who we are, like what is the truest, most authentic version of us? What does that look like? What does that feel like? So that's really the starting work of it, because it's not what your mom's most authentic self is, or your sister, your friend, whoever, your partner, right? It's learning what that means for us. So a big part of it, and this is like the scary work for a lot of people that we all resist at some point, but it's getting to know who we are. And it's really self-reflection, contemplation. It really is moving into silence and stillness. And when you have that silence and stillness and thinking about, and the goal of yoga really, it's, calming the fluctuations of the mind. And when we can do this, so much more clarity comes in. And when we find that clarity, it's really learning like the difference of perhaps that this is like a subconscious belief or something that we took on from our parents at a young age. And this isn't even ours. It's not even a part of us. It's something that we inherited. And I know you do a lot of ancestor trauma, and a lot of things we're carrying around. I'm not an expert on this, but I know a lot of things we're carrying around are not even ours. Like it's our grandmothers, our great grandmothers. And now if we tie that and make it our truth, it becomes our truth. Otherwise, when we start to learn the difference, then we can, again, learn like what that looks like and find clarity. And so one of the things, we talk about within one of the yoga, like the yoga teachings say that we are born with courage, clarity, and love. And anything that is not that has been taught to us over time. And also personal power, I believe too. Like we are born powerful, and it's just a matter of like remembering it. And sometimes we get scared of like how powerful we actually are. And I'll step into that in a second. But really like the first step, it's getting to know who you are. It's getting to know like what you love. Like think about the times that you feel most alive, you feel most free, you feel joyful. Are you outside? Are you on the yoga mat? Are you just sitting in meditation? Are you with family? And it's starting to learn what some of that is. And then how can you replicate that as well? How can you start to, bring that into your life more and more and more, even if it's 5 minutes a day. So yeah, the big step, like first step is, thinking about like what that looks and feels like. And I love journaling. I'm huge on journaling. So that's even something you could start to write down. Like, what do I love? When do I feel like myself? When do I feel free and joyful? And, when am I in that powerful state? And also remembering that that's like our true form. It really is like anytime. And like a lot of times too, we're always like, oh, that's too good to be true. When we're really happy, we say this so often, oh, that's too good to be true. That's not reality. Actually, it's 100% your reality. You can make it your reality. It's 100% your truth. Like it's literally what you were born with. So it's doing all these things. And like, this is practicing like yoga is to unravel and pull these layers back and back and back so we can like dive deep, deep, deep within. And it's scary and it takes time, but it's really beautiful.
It is. It's so true. And could I say, when you said like getting to know yourself as one of that first step, and I realized too that as I began to learn who I am, a lot of things that I enjoyed as a child started to kind of come back up again. Because when I was younger, now I'm going to really age myself now, but I'm going to throw it out there anyways. There were these things called VHS tapes. And so I used to go to the library and they had yoga tapes, and I would go and get them, and I'd be in my room doing that. And, just because, in my household, it was like yoga, like, what is this? This is not good. It was seen as a negative thing just because of not understanding. So I was like secretly doing yoga. I was like sneaking yoga in, but I eventually stopped, and I was like, oh, well, maybe this is a bad thing. And then I also remember growing up, I always wanted to do like journalism and interview people. But I didn't do that. I went into the world of politics. Lord have mercy. But I did that instead. And so, but I find like, as I began to know myself and really begin to explore, almost like that kid that's just exploring things and not worried about what other people are like, what they may say, what they may think, but just exploring my internal world. A lot of those things that I always had an interest in as a child, it's like starting to come back. And I wanted to just put that there because I thought that was so interesting. I was like, I'm kind of going back to things that were kind of like, why would you do that? Like, from from an adult, like, you shouldn't do that. This is the route you need to go. And now I find myself kind of going back to that original route. It's very fascinating.
Yeah. And I don't have kids, but I know we can learn a lot from kids. Absolutely. And it's like, we think about how innocent we were and how joyful we were and just this outlook we had on the world. And sometimes it's like, wow, imagine if we could go back to that, and it's like getting rid of, and it's like, all these other elements of life haven't built up yet. But I do think there's like an element of us that can, go back to that. And even if it's like for 5 minutes, like I'm huge on that. Like even if you can experience that for 5 minutes and then just start to, it's like making this imprint of like what that feels like, and then maybe finding something else that's similar that can create that same imprint, But I love that you shared that because I think that's so incredible. Like, I mean, that's just beautiful. And yeah.
Thank you. So I just wonder, like, for those that are like, with that step that you had said, like, you may find yourself going back to like, maybe you wanted to bake. Say if you're a kid, you love to bake, but someone said, you can't get a job bake. Like, that's not a stable job. That's not something. But as you said, on this journey of discovering who you are, you may find yourself kind of like going back to like a whole new passion for baking.
Right.
Because you're now kind of discovering who you are. So just, have fun with that and explore. I love that you said that about just finding who you are.
And I think that even goes into like the second step I was going to say too. It's courage and confidence. So it's like learning what that is for you and then how to find the courage and confidence to move forward with it. And just like you said, I'm sure a lot of us in life have been told that we can't do that that's not possible. And this is other people really just like, imposing their fears on us.
Right.
And that's where we have a choice. And, it's not easy. It's something we have to work at, but we have a choice. Like, again, do we make this our truth too? Or can we just observe that and say, okay, that's okay. I don't need to align myself with that. And I can continue on this journey. And one thing we even talk about in yoga is that if you have a desire, that desire is actually meant for you. Like that desire comes from your core, from this like higher self. Some people say from God or goddess, the universe. So anytime you have this like deep driving, this like desire, it's literally meant for you. So a lot of times we have like, we hit an obstacle, or maybe we don't have the clients we want, or we're not making the money we want, or we're not finding that success right away. It's like, imagine what happens if you stuck with this. And there's so many times I wanted to quit being a yoga teacher. I was like, I'm just going to go get a 9-to-5 job. That'll be easier. But that easier wasn't going to be more fulfilling for me. And I probably would have ended up back as a yoga teacher, like starting, back over again. So I'm just trying to say it's like sticking through some of this stuff and like remembering why we're doing what we're doing in the first place. And I think that's a really huge thing of like coming back to that true self. Like, why am I a yoga teacher? Why am I a baker? And it's also, we can think about too, of like doing it for ourselves first in a sense, but it's also like it's benefiting somebody else. Like, what if you made the best cake someone has ever had, and then you decide not to do that? And it's like taking that away from them. And maybe that's kind of a silly example, but there's so many things where it's like, think about what you do that helps so many other people, like that ripple effect. And so it's like, I do really believe in like having that courage to like stick with things and to keep going and not letting those other beliefs and other people's stories come in. And I've still had people who, it's like when people can't understand the reality you're creating, they just deem it as impossible, or, oh, no, that's not going to work. And it's like, okay, you watch me, let's talk in 10 years.
Right.
I've like said, I was talking to someone about that earlier today. I'm like, I'll talk to you in 10 years. Just But I think it's just so important. And like my other thing too, people have asked me, they're like, well, what if I go for my dream and it doesn't work? What if it doesn't bring me the joy and the happiness? And I don't believe like any of that time is wasted. I believe that we learn so much on that journey and that it really helps us step into that next version. And even though I'm still a yoga teacher, I still focus on that a lot. At one point, I really wanted to lead teacher trainings and travel doing different workshops. And I thought that was really my path. And then I realized that I really had this passion for coaching and that I could bring all of that into this coaching program. So it's like my path shifted, but really everything I was doing helped me with that so much. Like I wouldn't be in the position I am if I didn't have that experience as a yoga teacher, if I didn't go through that part of my life. So I don't believe any of that is wasted. I don't really look at it as failed. I do believe there's some like maybe trial and error, and maybe it's like, okay, this didn't bring me the happiness, but it's also learning, if we're seeking that happiness, we've talked about this too, a lot of that is within inside of us. So it's how can we experience that part of ourselves? How can we experience that joyful state, that wealthy state, that powerful state without constantly seeking something? As if you are always looking for it in the next thing, we're never going to find it, especially if we don't have it with the level we're at now. If we don't have that gratitude and celebration, how are we going to get to that next step? Like we have to have that contentment and gratitude and celebration. So I hope I didn't.
That's so true. No, that's so true because first, before this life in the wellness space, I was in politics and there was so much focus on the next thing. Like, what are we going to do next? What's going to happen next? And so that became like the mindset, and it wasn't really living in the moment. It was just getting to the next, whether it was an event, some type of speaking engagement. There wasn't really taking a moment. There wasn't time to take a moment because, it was either you had to raise money for a campaign. It was just like this constant machine. So now kind of coming into this space where it's just like, okay, honor the journey is like foreign. It's like, what? Like I'm trying to get to the next thing, but then I'm like, wait a second, I don't really know what the next thing is. And then it's freak out moment. But so this is different. This is very different.
And it really is like, that's also, it's creating a relationship with yourself at the same time to trust yourself and to trust that like, what you're doing and like, we never know everything. We're never perfect. I don't think we're ever even ready. It's just a matter of like throwing ourselves into something because there's so much like fire and passion and like love behind it. And, we call that like Shakti, or it's like this powerful energy. And, I was going to say something else on that before too, but yeah, anyways, but and like another thing too, and I don't know if you've ever had this probably, but I look back at when I was in college and I'm like thinking, oh, I can't wait to have a career. Oh, I can't wait to do this, this, and that. And then it's like, you get to that and you're like, wait, I wish I was more present in college. Like I want to go back to college now. I'd rather have that. Not, But it's like some of that level too, where I've caught myself like even amazing places in my life and like just ready for the next thing. Like, oh, I can't wait to get here. I can't wait for that. And then I look back on so many moments and I'm like, damn girl, you did not appreciate that or just enjoy it. I think I always appreciated things, but it's like that level of like really fully being present with it. And like the power of presence is just, I can't even explain it. And I don't know if anyone can really explain it, but it's like, and that's, again, like that meditation and yoga, it's really bringing us into that present moment. And there really is nothing else. Like there really isn't.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's being in that present moment. And you know what? And I got so wrapped up in our conversation. I didn't say this. If anybody has any comments, if you have any questions, just drop in the comment box.
Yes, please.
I usually say that towards the beginning, and then I totally just got wrapped up in our conversation. But if anybody has questions, comments, please be sure to drop them in the comment box. And please also give this video a thumbs up if the information is resonating with you, which I'm sure that it is. And please also share with someone in your community that can really use this valuable information of how they can begin to step into their power. So I just wanted to say that really quick before we go into the next step.
Okay. So I almost feel like my next step I almost talked about. But again, I'm getting so excited. But I feel like a lot of it too, then it's so we have discovering who we are, getting clear on who we are, seeing what that looks and feels like. And then it's finding like the courage and confidence to move forward with that. And, really the next thing I think about, it's taking that aligned action as well as experiencing life and experiencing what we're talking about. And, we can sit and listen to a lecture all day long. We can read a bunch of books. We can, watch documentaries, whatever it is, but it really is putting all of that to work and like just getting out there and experiencing life. And I just feel like that's so important, and experiencing the practices and just, and this is even with, yoga and Shavasana. Shavasana is our final rest. And so many people skip that final rest. And again, that's also like this masculine society of like, do, work, go, go. And it's like, we forgot about the beauty of rest. We forgot about the beauty of like, just be. And like we said, the presence, but it's like when we do rest in that Shavasana, everything integrates, like everything comes back to the wholeness that we already are. It's like this remembrance of who we are. So now we're even like tying back to that beginning of like everything, right? It's like a big circle of like this stillness, this integration of like learning all of these things also brings us back. Like we get more clear on who we are and what we desire from that. And like you can think about, if we're talking about yoga and like a physical practice, like, and then you rest, like allowing all of that to marinate, allowing all of that to like integrate into your being, like what you experience, the sensations, the lessons, like allowing that to come into your being. And then you can also choose the shit you don't want to integrate, you can let that go. And it's like creating that space to let it go and to let it like move through you. And this is also why we have to let things surface. And this is why yoga can be painful. It can be challenging physically, emotionally, mentally, especially emotionally. But like when we get into like that physical movement of actually releasing that stuck energy within the body and bringing it to surface and then letting it release. And people talk about emotional releases in Shavasana all the time of just breaking down and crying and sometimes not even knowing why. So it's like, yeah, letting it surface. And it's like, we have to have those. And I had a coach say one time, and I say this all the time now, like breakdowns are breakthroughs. And anytime, again, it's like we have to feel all the ways we feel. We have to experience that sensation, experience life, like experience the pain and like let it surface. And then again, choose to let some things go and choose to let other things like integrate within, and you get to carry that with you. And I think a lot of us have like these amazing aha moments in yoga or in Shavasana. And then we also have things where we're like, okay, I'm ready to let that go. Like I no longer want that to be my truth. And that's not even my truth to begin with. That's not from me. That's that subconscious belief I took on years and years ago that I've been carrying around, and it's holding me back. So yeah, they all tie together. But
yeah, no, that all ties together perfectly. And it's so true that when you begin to go on that journey of learning who you are, as you said, when you're kind of first starting that out and kind of coming into your own and kind of getting that power, then you begin to it's like the layers start to peel off. And then you're like, wait, that's not even my belief system. Wait, that's not even how. And then you begin to realize like, oh my gosh, I've been like covered up, as you said before, with like the thoughts, the ideas, the perceptions, the whatever of other people, like the reality they created, they're now trying to throw on you. And it's like, wait, this isn't even about me. Like all this stuff that people have like thrown on me, that was all their stuff that they didn't deal with, that they've now thrown on me. And I think it's mine.
And it's funny, even my teacher and I were talking earlier, and she was like, imagine what you could get done if you let some of that stuff go. Like if you let some of that clutter get out of your mind, like imagine what you could accomplish also. And that's another thing, because like it really is this like anchor, and not that grounding anchor. It's like that anchor that's like holding you back. And like it's that, we think about that weight being lifted, like it really is like that emotional weight being lifted too, of like moving into like that lightness and freedom and letting go of some of the burdens. And that's a big thing. And like I feel like that's another focus of mine, is just like, how can we be free? Like how can we live life more freely and authentically, and it's like free to show up as our authentic self. Let's put it that way. How can we be free to show up in that? And
so true. And so when you said like the breaking free, is that what happens when you are now showing up as your authentic self? What is that like experience like?
Yeah, absolutely. I would 100% say freedom. I would say it's, and of course it's like, it's a never ending, it's a journey. Absolutely. It's not like, oh my gosh, I did it and now I'm done. It's like, okay, I did some level of it, and now we can get to, and that is one of the things where it's like, of course, where, I believe in goal setting. I believe in like striving for more, but I also believe, like I said, it's like being present and content and grateful, because if we're not in that state, like how can we expect it to find that in the next state? So I do believe once we've found that, we can like kind of reach for more. So I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but yeah. So it's like finding that next level. But I would also say too, it's like when you step into like that power of your authenticity and like stepping into like that just truest version of yourself, just joy, fulfillment, like more meaning within your life, as well as just, and again, I would also say it's like the freedom of not letting other people dictate your life or make your decisions for you. And I think that's a huge part of it, or letting their beliefs hold you back down as well. Because a lot of times, and I'm still working on this too, like, again, it's next level, but like, oh, you know, should I talk about this? I might offend this person that I knew in high school years and years ago because I know that they like this, right? And it's like our mind goes to these crazy things where it's like, oh, what will this yoga student think of me if I say this, you know? And it's like, okay, but if this is my truth, I'm not harming anyone or, you know, offending. And there's like this level of it, of course, but it's like, if what I'm saying is not harming anyone, it's like to be able to speak our truth and to put that out there. And it's like, imagine how many people we could help also if we speak that truth. And it's not even like, you don't even have to be that light worker healer. If you are listening, it's just like even spreading that light with others. Like if you feel comfortable to be yourself, you make that next person feel comfortable to be themselves. And we're definitely in a world where we need more people to be themselves. Like we need more people like following their dharma and following like this truth, because we need more joy in this world. We need more like, and we want like, I would love for everyone to live like a fulfilling, meaningful life. And I think a lot of us are searching for meaning. And yeah, and I think like, you know, figuring out what our authenticity looks like, what that truth looks like provides a lot of meaning, because it's like, we just know like, oh yeah, the other thing I was going to say too, it's like, it makes life easier in a sense, because you can make decisions. Like if someone asks you, hey, do you want to do this? It should be like kind of a quick yes or no. Maybe not, you know, quick, but as you start to learn, like, you know, is this really for me? Is this what I truly want? Or am I just saying yes because I think I need to say yes? Am I saying no because I feel like I need to say no? I used to say yes to any opportunity that came my way. And sometimes it was out of fear that another one wouldn't come, so I should take this one. So I would just say yes to everything. And then I would hurt myself. I wouldn't show up the best that I should be for whoever, you know, whatever job I was doing or extra class. I would just say yes to like every single class. And I was teaching. So for me, 10 classes was way too much for studio classes. And I would say yes, yes, and yes. And I would sub. And then I was like, this isn't benefiting me or even benefiting probably the students at this point. Or, you know, then it's like I would, anyways. So it's like,
no, that's a good point. That's
right?
a good point.
Yeah. And saving ourselves time, saving someone else time too. Because it's like, they also deserve the best as well, you know, and it's like we all. So I feel like that's a big part of it too, of like learning what that looks like for us. Like, what do we want to say yes to? What do we want to say no to?
Right. That's so true. I'm glad that you said that, because when I was living in Connecticut and I was teaching yoga on Saturdays, I had a contract with the Bridgeport Public Library. And so I was teaching yoga Saturday mornings, and, you know, everything was going fine. And then at my job, I got promoted. And so that caused me to travel more. And so because of that, it was interrupting like the time that I had set aside for practice. Like after work, I was like commuting to New York City. I was living in Connecticut, commuting to New York City, trying to make time for my own practice, let alone trying to put together the sequence for class on every Saturday. And then I had picked up another class that I was teaching on Monday, and it was more of a restorative class. So I was like, I want to keep doing this, but I knew that I was going to not be able to show up how the students needed me to show up. So I had to make that decision, and I didn't want to say no to continue teaching, but if I'm not able to really show up and give 100%, then I'm shortchanging myself and of course the students. So what you said, like, it's so true. Like when you're saying yes to these things, is this benefiting you first? Because I was running myself ragged. I was not looking like wellness. I was looking like, don't do whatever she's doing, don't do it. She looked a little haggard.
We learned a lot
because I was like trying to manage all of that. So like saying yes to everything, how is that working for you in your life? And then of course you're not going to be able to show up for others if you're unable to show up for yourself.
Yeah. And this is where that burnout comes from, you know, that in the US, I feel like we know all too well. I mean, I feel like a lot of us have all been burnt out at times. And that's why even a lot of people end up being a yoga teacher. And as a yoga teacher, you can absolutely get burnt out. And that also goes back to like why it's important to have that routine and have those rituals and those practice. So you are like nourishing yourself, because I mean, like pre-pandemic, I was teaching at 3 yoga studios. I was bartending the Panthers games. I was bartending the Davidson basketball games. I served tables at a restaurant. And then I was like doing my retreats and my workshops. And like, I would get in my car and not even remember where I was going. And again, and then like, I was so ragged that it's like one place I'm not showing up fully, you know, it's like when you're working these crazy hours and, you know, and all that stuff. And then it's like learning. And I was, you know, maybe at a place at one point, I don't regret any of that because I learned so much from it. I talked a lot about it in my coaching. And again, like that's one of those things where I think we integrate that into, it's a big reason of why I'm here even, but I don't want to do that ever again. Like you said, teaching others, like hopefully even in my program, maybe I can help people like not have to do that again, or, you know, or yeah, you know, and there's a whole element of it too, because it's like we have to take care of ourselves at like 100%.
We do. And I know we're starting to wind down. This has been such a fun conversation and so great to have you on. And so before we leave, I just wanted to know a little bit of if somebody, number one, if somebody wants to work with you, become a client of yours, how can they do that? And also, I know that you have a retreat coming up. I think the last time I saw there was like 3 spots left. I don't know if that's filled up yet, but can you talk a little bit about your coaching and also your retreat?
Yeah, absolutely. So the coaching program I do is called Authentic Feminine Mastermind. It's essentially about everything we just talked about. My group program, the next one starts January of 22, so which is right around the corner. Absolutely crazy.
I know.
And it's 12 weeks long. So I usually keep it an intimate group. It's, you know, a max of 10 people, usually less. So that starts in January. So I actually do discovery calls for that too. So I like to get to know people. I like them to get to know me. So I make sure that, you know, I want this to be what they're looking for. And I want them to be able to get, you know, what they want to invest in. And I just like to be able to have that connection beforehand. So on Instagram is really where I post a lot of my stuff. I'm Free Spirited Wanderer. And then also just freespiritedwanderer.com. You'll find all of my offerings as well. So yeah, the next group coaching is January. I also do that as one-on-one, and we can do it 12 weeks. We can do 8 weeks. We can kind of customize our own thing within that. If there's a module you want to focus on even more and one you don't want to focus on. So there's a little bit of room within that as well. And right now I can take on about like 1 or 2 more private clients. And then again, I have the January 22. So crazy. I keep saying that. It's like so crazy.
I know. I can't believe this year's almost over.
Yeah. So I do have a wait list for that also that I'm creating. So essentially I have your name on the wait list, and then I reach out to you kind of late November, early December, where that's when we can, you know, get on that call. I can tell you a little bit more. Basically, it's also for me to tell you more about like how it works, how it runs, and just so also we have this like understanding and clarity before we begin to. So yeah, those are the 2, or that's the program I have right now. The other thing, I guess I'll say this on here too, which I'm almost launching, is I'm actually
doing it first.
Yeah, you know, I'm actually doing it as a self-study also. So you can essentially just buy the course, but we don't do any live calls. So there's no extra support. There's no one-on-one time. There's no group time. So it's really just the content. And it's the same exact content. You still get the yoga practices, the meditations, the journaling, you know, you still get all of that. It's just no interaction. So I tell people, or will tell people, that it's either if you want the support and the connection, definitely do the one-on-one or the group. If you just want the content and you want to listen to it for the next year, just like, and that's a great thing too for just taking your time going through it, you know, because otherwise we kind of go on a schedule. You don't have to have everything done. But if you feel like you want more than 12 weeks and you have lifetime access to it. So you can, if you want a little refresher on something, you can come back to it all the time. I'll update it over the years, and you'll have access to whatever I update to.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
So yeah, that's the coaching I have right now. And then my women's retreat also right around the corner. So that's November 15th to the 20th. It's in Tulum, Mexico. Actually only like 3 hours nonstop from Charlotte. So it's actually very close if you're in Charlotte. Yeah, which is crazy too. So that's 5 nights. It's right in Tulum, right on the beach there. So it is empowered women's retreat. So we do yoga practices in the morning. It'll probably be vinyasa, slow flow, deep stretch, maybe power. I'll kind of go off the energy of what people want. And then the evening will actually be an empowerment workshop. So it's learning how to stand in your power. It's practices for self-love. It's journaling. It's solar plexus work. It's pairing off with other people and like getting to know them. So that's just like a lot of like connection. That's of where I'm talking about, like stepping into like that inner goddess, like feeling safe to step into her, feeling supported, moving into like this expansive state. So it'll be actually like a lot of practices that I do in my coaching, and it'll also be like what do you call it, in person. So it'll be a different energy right on the beach there. Like it's a really beautiful spot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I saw the pictures. Like beautiful.
I'm really excited about it. So yeah, so that's again November 15th to the 20th. I still have the 3 spots left. What else? And then I have all my 2022 retreats will be coming up soon too. So if you do follow me on Instagram or check out my website, I update everything on there like very frequently. And I'm always happy for people to email me, to DM me. Love to meet new people. So feel free. And yeah.
Nice. And so make sure you go right in the description box. You can find all of Carole's information. I was like, send me everything. So all of her website, you can go there to learn more about her coaching and also the retreats. So make sure you go there and also follow her on social media. And so for those that are listening, thank you so much for joining us. Again, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Please also share. And Carole, as our episode comes to a close, is there anything that you would like to leave our listeners with?
Oh boy. I would definitely just say, I feel a lot of it, it's like finding that courage, clarity, and love, and like that personal power in your life to like just really learning about who you are, feeling free to step into that person, and like really just like truly tapping into that space and like really, yeah. And it's just that practice, like I said, and like there's always going to be this level of fear. You might never feel ready. And then it's like one of the biggest questions I give people or have, and I've given this to myself, is like, what is on the other side of that fear? Like, what is on the other side of what's holding you back? Like, what possibilities, what opportunity, what feelings, like what desired feelings are there? And that's really the driving force, I think, is I'm like, what is on the other side of this? And that's just like a great question to ask yourself too. And I think it's a great way to just get that fire in your belly and burning, and yeah, and like keep journaling. Or if you don't journal, I highly recommend journaling. If you don't know how to journal, conscious stream of thought, whatever the hell comes up. I've done things before that I read it years later too. And it's really cool because sometimes I've written things down that I wanted in my life and then actually realizing I was stepping into that right now. Wow, and powerful. I think there's a lot of power. There is like, that's why I love journaling. So if you don't have a journaling practice, journal. You can also ask me for prompts. I probably have some in my Instagram page too.
Yeah, so definitely check out our Instagram page. Yeah, you have a lot of good information there. Even how to make some drinks without alcohol.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so make sure you check out her Instagram page for some, because sometimes you do like the recipes on there, like different type of food, like vegan food options. So you'll get a lot of good information on her Instagram page as well. So Carole, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was fun. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. I'm so glad. I would love that.
And so for those that are watching, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Please be sure to join me next Tuesday for another episode, same time at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. With that being said, you guys have a fabulous night, and I'll see you next Tuesday.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Come to this.